2025 has been an incredibly exciting year for women's sports in Montreal and across the country. The Montreal Victoire continued to grow in popularity, and the Roses FC had a successful first season playing in Laval. And of course, there was the incredible excitement around Victoria Mboko's Cinderella win at the Montreal Open. Here to talk about how to capitalize on that momentum is Allison Sandmeyer-Graves, CEO of Canadian Women and Sport. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So not only are we seeing great achievements in women's sports, but we're also starting to see a lot of enthusiasm and interest as well. How much has women's pro sports grown in the past year?
Well, we released a study this fall that looked at the commercial side of women's sports. So, specifically looking at professional women's sport, and it found that the market had doubled in size in 2 short years and is on track to surpass $500 million by 2030. So, women's professional sport is turning into a significant economic engine here in Canada and in a hurry because I think, as you spoke to, things seem to be coming on very quickly where there were no leagues or teams. Now we have two and a third one coming with the Toronto Tempo in 2026.
What do you think's behind the growth?
Well, if we look globally, I think what we were saying was that Canada was a little bit behind. When we look at our counterparts in the US, in Europe, in Australia, women's professional sport has been growing and growing rapidly with significant fans showing up, with significant sponsorships, media rights deals, and so on. So Canada had some catching up to do. What is great about this country, though, is we know that we have the world's best women athletes. We know that we have a ton of Canadian pride and a deep sporting culture. And so it was time to overcome the hurdles that have stopped us in the past, making sure that the investment is there, the media is there, and the fans are there, which we know they are. They're showing up in droves.
Yeah, well, just as an example, had a story in our newscast just this past week about a brand new bar that just opened up in Montreal that's showing exclusively women's sports. And if you want a seat out at that bar for at least the hockey games, you got to be there about an hour early. So, as someone who's been working to try to get women's sports off the ground and really getting it going, when you hear those stories, how does that make you feel?
It's truly thrilling. We really are living through a complete transformation of the sport landscape in Canada. You mentioned Victoria Mboko's win earlier. Tennis has had this incredible, deep roster of talent. And we've got one tournament here in Canada where they get to show their stuff. Similarly, on the golf side with Brooke Henderson and her peers. Now we have teams and leagues playing consistently in market from coast to coast. You can turn on your TV, several nights a week and see something on the TV to watch of women's sport. That is an absolute game changer. What we are really keen to see now is how does that impact girls in our communities now that they have access to these role models, a culture that is more encouraging, more supportive, more respectful of women's sport. How do we translate that into girls playing and staying as long as possible?
The last thing I want to ask you is how to keep that momentum going. There have been women's leagues in the past that have had a bit of success and then folded. So, how do we keep the momentum going?
It's early days, and the goal is sustainable teams and leagues that are thriving commercially and that are driving this broad social change that I spoke about. And so there's so many things to do. Show up, buy the ticket, tune in when it's on TV, watch it on streaming, buy the jerseys. If you own a business, big or small, put some sponsorship dollars behind it. Just show up however you can. Whether you're a women's sport fan or a sport fan, there's something here for you.
Allison Sandmeyer-Graves, CEO of Canadian Women in Sport. Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate this.
My pleasure.